Hello, everyone, and welcome live to Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series here on 3Y TV, the National Sim Racing Association. Tonight, it is the Tesoro Motorsports 175 here from the Watkins Glen International Speedway. I am Peter Short, and alongside here tonight for all the action is Andre Grandbush. Andre, we are going road course racing here tonight for the Tesoro Motorsports 175, and that looked absolutely brutal there in the background.
Yeah, coming up the S's, the track will get real narrow real quick if somebody's having a problem. But yeah, I've really been looking forward to this race. Watkins Glen is my absolute favorite track on the NASCAR schedule, and it's such a great circuit. I think it was Mark Martin that described this track as the super speedway of road courses because it is so fast, so flowing. Really only one heavy braking zone in the entire track. Everything else is all about momentum carry, and it's a very different driving style from the other road courses, and we're going to have to see what these guys do with it. But just looking at the practice charts, these guys are putting up some really good lap times for the trucks. Usually, I'd see trucks running about 1:14s for their hot laps, but these guys are in the 13s, actually almost breaking into the 12s. Tesoro topping practice right now with a minute 13.17, and then Maher right behind with a minute 13.2. Just a lot of fast laps out there. They got about 3.5 minutes left in practice before we head off into qualifying. As we ride on board, gives you a good perspective of this track coming through the carousel, very downhill. You can kind of feel it in the sim when you're coming around the carousel. You can feel that elevation change, but being there in real life and looking at that corner, you would be surprised how extreme it is, and it just isn't done justice on TV or in the games here. And just kind of a fun little thing about the track as Tesoro rounds out the final corner here, and he's going to clock another lap.
Yeah, well, he was going to clock another lap, just losing control of it there out of the final corner, just to say, you know what, Andre, I'm going to show you something else. But, of course, it is the Tesoro Motorsports 175 here tonight, and a good showing out of the Tesoros right now. Julian Tesoro, fastest of all. Dominic Tesoro sitting third on the board as well. There's Jeff Price, fifth fastest driver. Back Channel Productions, number 14, struggling just a little bit through the carousel. Might need some Tokyo Drift sounds for that number 14 as he almost drifted the whole way through the carousel. Here is one driver right here, 931. If Nathan Maurer was on an absolute tear until last night over in the National Sim Racing Association Grand National Series that they run. I think he was looking for win number 4 in a row, but he was dethroned by the driver who sits fourth on the leaderboard here in practice. Philip Scott would get in the win last night here at the National Sim Racing Association. So Philip will be a driver to keep our eyes on here tonight. In fact, speaking of Philip, here he is, the World Ninja League Ford F-150, working his way up through the S's here, trying to get one more lap time in before the end of practice. Not exactly sure whether or not he'll be able to do so. It will be close for that F-150. He might blow the bus stop here, maybe, just to get that extra lap in. No, he's going to get it on the brakes and hit the apexes here. I want to welcome everyone here into the 3Y TV channel here tonight on YouTube. Just awoke from a nap a little while ago, so if I appear a little bit groggy or sound a little bit groggy, that's why, I promise. But nonetheless, we got this race here tonight, Andre, 55 laps around Watkins Glen. I mean, we haven't really been talking about this a whole lot. We've seen a couple of drivers struggle here in practice, but 55 laps is going to be a little bit of an endurance event here tonight. I mean, you know, you're going to have to be on your mark for the entire night. 55 laps around this joint will be kind of over probably in about an hour and 15 minutes or so. But, you know, you're going to have to keep on your toes. You see Philip Scott there making a little bit of a mistake in turn number 1.
Well, you know, you kind of look at it as an endurance event, but at the same time, you kind of have to not pay attention to the lap counter. Road course racing is all about consistency. It's all about, we got somebody having a little chat with the AMR safety team out there as they're parked out of bounds there. But road course racing is all about mistake minimization. You just want to be as consistent as possible. I've said it before, I'll say it again. At a track like this, you'll lose a whole lot more time overdriving than you will ever lose underdriving. You just don't want to make mistakes. You don't want to push the car too hard because it doesn't take much. You miss your braking zone by 50 feet, and you might be completely missing the corner. And everything changes so dynamically, too. You're using your brakes a lot at this track, so your brake temperatures are going to change, which means their responsiveness is going to fluctuate and change throughout the race, and you're just going to have to feel that out and adapt to it. Not to mention tire wear. The Cup Series right now on iRacing, they don't really have an issue with tire wear on road courses. Well, they have an issue. It's just that the issue is that they don't wear. Here in the trucks, they do wear. You are going to see lap time fall off, and they're going to have to get used to that as well, especially down into Turn 1. When the tires get worn out, Turn 1 is going to get tougher and tougher because unlike real life, the simulator is not going to allow these guys to hop the curb and track extend off of Turn 1. They're going to have to keep it beneath the curb, and doing that with worn tires is going to be a bit of a challenge. But practice is wrapping up, and already, Peter, we got some guys lining up for quals.
Yeah, it's a 10-minute qualifying session here tonight. We got this driver right here, Adam Newton, the number 29 machine, working his way out onto the racing circuit. So plenty of time for these drivers to get a couple of laps here on the board, Andre. 10 minutes. What do you think? You're going to see drivers go out early, do you think, and try and put that hop lap in? Or do you think they're might try and wait for a cloud to come over the racing surface? Because right now the track is nice and hot, sun bearing down. It doesn't look like a whole lot of clouds in the sky, but nonetheless, that can sometimes play a part in your lap time as getting a lucky cloud.
Well, if you're at an intermediate track or a short track, it can really make the entire track feel different. But I mean, Watkins Glen is a little over 2 miles, so to get cloud cover that affects the entire track, you'd have to be banking on some overcast conditions, and I don't think we're going to see that here today. I mean, looking at the sky, like you said, not too many clouds in sight. The front stretch has a little bit of cloud cover as we go on board with Tesoro here. You can see a little bit of shade going into Turn 1. That's going to give them a little bit more grip. He sends it in deep, but he's got to keep it under the curb. I believe he did. I believe that is fair game as far as the sim's considered. So again, going to the number 17 here, Maher. He extends a little bit more, playing with fire, but you can do that. As he gets loose, can he save it into the wall a little bit? Locks it up. He's got some right side damage, but all things considered, that could have been a lot worse. Again, those S's get really narrow really fast.
Yeah, and one thing to note about Tristan Maher here, Andre, is he comes into tonight as our points leader after last week at Pocono. Tyler Bellinger got the win last week at Pocono. Of course, that race was not here on 3 Wide TV. Unfortunately, I had some family to go attend to down here in the Austin area, so went down to that, but we're back, of course, on the air here tonight. Tyler Bellinger getting that win. Philip Scott, who had such a good regular season, did not have a good Pocono event, tumbling down the standings, but we expect to see Philip Scott do well here tonight on the road course where he is very comfortable. Currently, the number 30, Julian Tesoro, leading in the Tesoro Motorsports qualifying run here. Philip Scott second on the board, just 7/100ths of a second behind. We're keeping our eye on Tom Lester right here in the number 48 machine. A couple other times trickling in. There's Doug Neal in the number 77 machine. A couple of drivers not out there on the racetrack right now. Mike Floppy Tellier, one of those. John Fleming, also not out there on the racetrack. Justin White, Jeffrey Mathis, electing to stay on pit road. This is a driver that could be a little bit interesting here tonight, Andre. That is the number 59 of Blaine Sparling. Actually has the highest road I rating in the field. His road I rating is upwards of 2,900 I rating points, which is quite a bit higher than pretty much anyone else in the field. So he's going to be a driver I'll be keeping my eyes on here in the Tesoro Motorsports 175. He comes out of the carousel. He uses all that runoff. Just about 6 minutes left here in qualifying. Still only 4 drivers who have turned a lap time to be scored here tonight. Here comes the number 59. Oh, he might have just used a bit too much curb there. We'll find out whether or not iRacing will score this lap time here as he powers out at the final corner to the start-finish line. And the number 59 machine, where does he jump up on the board? 4th on the board, about a second or so off of the number 69. Dominic Tesoro in that number 69. Here he is down the front stretch. Number 69, let's see if he's able to improve on lap number 2. Does not look like it. So I'll tell you what here, Andre. the Tesoro Motorsports machines looking very, very strong, as Tristan Maher in the number 17 able to make up for that earlier mistake and put himself on row number 2 provisionally.
Yeah, the Tesoro Motorsports boys doing real good so far in qualifying. Really showing some pace. They were fast in practice, fastest now in qualifying, and even with the pole time that they have set, the provisional pole, they still had a little bit more in their pocket. Remember, the number 30 ran a minute 13.1 in practice, so they got a couple more tenths that they could have potentially pulled out right there, and that is a scary thing, that they can be a little bit off their fastest lap and still set the pole comfortably thus far. As we go on the gyro cam here, get a good view coming into this sort of left-right complex. I always found this a difficult section of the track because the angle of the left-hander and the angle of the right-hander are just ever so slightly different, and the grip levels are not quite the same either. Seems like the right-hander is a lot looser coming out of the track towards the straightaway, and I always struggled right there, but looks like they were able to get through pretty smooth. Coming to the line, let's see what lap time they're going to post, as we've had a flood of drivers posting times right at the very end of this session. Behind our top 5, where Sparling remains there in 5th, you got Doug Neal, you got Price in the number 14, Tyler Bellinger in 8th, you've got Adam Newton at P9, Nate Maurer is going to be P10, Vinny Valvanos at a minute 15.49, just outside the top 10 and 11, and Lester is so far bottom of the pylon, but not by much, only a couple tenths off Valvano, so very competitive times all throughout the field. We're riding on board with the Grinds Coffee Pouches, number 2, sliding it into the bus stop there, Peter. I mean, he sent that thing. Oh, I love the bus stop, man. That is the make or break part of this track. That is what your lap time hinges upon. How much are you willing to risk death sending it in there?
Yeah, you want to be kind of as straight as you can on entry into the bus stop, and that allows the truck to really set. If you can kind of drive it in straight, hit those curbs, and kind of power on through it, you'll have a good time. Here is Justin White working his way through the final corner to the line this time. I think he's the only driver who might be on a hot lap at this moment in time. There's still a couple of drivers who have yet to work their way out onto the racetrack, and you know, I'm always one of those drivers, as Justin White goes 11th on the board, who wants to run out qualifying. Just get as many extra laps of practice in as you can get. We'll see whether or not Justin can do that as he looks to improve his lap time here on his second qualifying run. Pocono went really well for Justin White as he got tight there through that left-hander right at the top of the hill. Let's talk about Pocono just a little bit. Bellinger, we mentioned, got the win. Not in tonight's field, however. Justin White finished in second. Tristan Maher in third last week. Blaine Sparling, Jason Shu in fourth and fifth. There was some pretty significant accidents that took out some key contenders in last week's race. Dominic Tesoro finishing sixth, as I mentioned. Stan Hausman, Julian Tesoro in eighth, Colton Gum in ninth, and Doug Neal rounding out our top 10 as we see Justin White here having some trouble out of the carousel. That is going to be a tricky corner here tonight. But what does that mean for the point standings? Of course, we are in the chase, last week being the first chase race here in this season of the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Well, Tristan Maher has the points lead by 23 points over Justin White, who moved 5 positions up the leaderboard, 23 markers back behind Maher, but nonetheless, great job there by Justin White last week. Doug Neal with his top 10 worked himself up into third in points, 51 points behind Tristan Maher. Julian Tesoro fourth in points. Adam Newton in fifth. Nate Maurer in sixth. Maurer finds himself 57 points behind. But then you have Philip Scott, who tumbled well down the order, came into the playoff or chase rather in second. He was the second seed, and unfortunately for Philip Scott, now finds himself 60 points behind Tristan Maher, and we're only one race in. The good news is we still have many races left here in the chase for him to make that up. Stan Hausman, 8th in the chase. Vincent Valvano, 9th in the chase. And David Buell, about 121 points behind Tristan Maher, the last of the chase drivers. So things looking pretty good right now for Tristan Maher, but, we're 55 laps around this daunting racetrack from the checkered flag here tonight. Anything can change.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a massive wild card. Anytime you go to a road course in a primarily oval-based circuit, you're going to have some interesting results. So maybe some drivers that are a little bit better or a little bit worse than the oval side of things, and so you see the running order get shuffled up, and it's just the nature of the beast. I think even with a relatively small field, you're going to see a lot of drivers racing very close because that's just the way this track is. They don't really get separated too often. That's why it's produced so many great battles in real life right to the very end up to the checkered flag. But qualifying is over, so we do have our qualifying positions set in stone. Nothing can change that now, as they are going to be heading towards the grid.
Yeah, we'll bring up that grid for everyone at home. Dominic Tesoro and Julian Tesoro. The Tesoros lead the Tesoro Motorsports 175. Quite fitting, for sure. And probably as fitting as it could be. Philip Scott, Tristan Maher on row number 2. Blaine Sparling and Doug Neal on row number 3. Good qualifying runs for them. Then a little bit further back, Jeff Price, Tyler Bellinger, who I incorrectly said was not going to be in the field here tonight. For some reason, I thought he had said he wasn't going to be here, but he is. He's going to be rounding off our top 8. Adam Newton and Nate Maurer rounding out our top 10. There, Andre.
And behind them, you got Justin White, P11, Vinny Valvano to his outside in 12th place. Then you've got Tom Lester, and Scott Tompkins will not be scored. So it'll be Tom Lester and John. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. I apologize. I did not get briefed on that name. I'm going to guess and say Flamian. Jeffrey Mathis to his outside. Mike Tellier and Martin Plute did not post qualifying times, but they'll be rolling out 17 and 18, assuming they do make the grid.
Yeah, those drivers have yet to make it to the grid here. Let's see if we can get a quick word with our pole sitter here tonight. How about that? Let's see if we can drag Dominic Tesoro down here into the 3-wide TV booth. Dominic Tesoro, Peter Short, 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, a really good lap time for you in that Tesoro Motorsports Toyota Tundra here tonight, starting on the pole for the Tesoro Motorsports 175. I don't think you could have scripted that any better. What do you think your keys to getting the dub here tonight will be?
Just maintain pace, man. I mean, both Julian and Tristan have quite a bit of pace on everybody. I think we got a little lucky there in qualifying. I did expect to come out P3, but like I said, I guess we got lucky. So at this point, it's just maintain pace, maintain tires, and hopefully we kill out on strategy and keep them behind us.
Yeah, you mentioned strategy here tonight. Do you think you'll see some drivers trying different strategies here tonight with the amount of tire wear we've been seeing and fall off?
Yeah, I do. I think it's going to come down to overall pace. If you have unbelievable pace, you can probably get away with a 3-stopper. If not, I think the safest way is to do it in 2. But like I said, man, if you've got the pace, you can definitely afford to pull in, top a little bit off full of fuel, take new tires, and just go out there and kill everybody. So we're just going to play it by ear. As of right now, all 3 Tesoro trucks are going to be on a 2-stop strategy. So we'll see.
Well, we will see how things all play out. I'm noticing right now, not sure if the track state is randomized, but it is extremely dusty out there on the racetrack just off of the racing line. So that'll be something you can keep an eye on as the night goes on. But Dominic, best of luck here in the Tesoro Motorsports 175.
Hey, man. Thank you.
All right, well, we'll let Dominic get back to his Tesoro Motorsports team as the iRacing safety car works its way. Not often do we see that iRacing Porsche safety car, Andre, leading the field, but it is a road course race, so we will be going green here shortly as they work their way through the bus stop.
Yep, just half a lap to the green. We're going to work our way through the carousel, and I always love the pace lap around road courses. It's just a long pace lap. These guys are probably getting a little bit nervous and starting to overthink a little bit just because they got so much time to sit behind that wheel and think about all the ways that these races could really go sideways. But if they keep a cool head, well, they're going to make it to the end. We're going to see what's going to happen here. But an all Tesoro front row. I got to wonder, Peter, do they race each other nice? Do they play ball because they're brothers? Or do they maybe race each other a little bit harder?
I don't know. Ooh, well, I'm not sure what's happening there with Vincent Valvano. Maybe some technical issue there. You saw him out of line in the number 64 machine. Looks like he gets that all reined in. But to answer your question, they're race car drivers, man. they're sim racers. They want to win the race. As the pace car heads off onto pit road, we're going to get the green flag in the flagman's hand here tonight. And we're racing here already at the Watkins Glen International Raceway in upstate New York, working lap number 1 of 55. Look at all that dust that's getting thrown up, and the 69 of Dominic Tesoro struggling a little bit out of turn number 1, and the lead is going to go to Julian Tesoro as they work their way for the first time up through the S's.
And they're going to single file out as they work their way to the top of the hill. No problem so far. Smooth sailing for the field. Number 30 does take the advantage, headed down into the bus stop. Now, this is going to be a great passing opportunity, but again, it is kind of a risky passing move because the track does narrow up a lot. They're going to hop that curb, and that's going to be something they got to be very careful with all night long. You hit that curb just right, well, you're going to be real fast for that section, but if you get the bad bump, if you get bounced off that curb in just the wrong angle, there's not a whole lot you can do to save that. Right here, they're going to track extend because this is the one corner where the game allows them to do that, and they're able to carry a little bit more speed down this short chute, which can be absolutely fundamental to their lap time. Number 30 holding strong. Everything's still single file behind them as they work their way through the final corner to complete lap number 1. It is still a Tesoro 1-2, just in a different order than when we started.
Yeah, you see there on the left-hand side of your screen, though, we did have several non-starters here tonight. Mike Floppy-Tellier, the 06 machine of Jeffrey Mathis, and Martin Clute in the number 8 all did not start. Our out-of-race official, the 888 of Scott Tompkins, usually does not start the event. He might go out there and do some practice laps, but Scott Tompkins is the out-of-race official and was not expected to start here tonight at the Glen. Looking out back, though, of the number 30 machine of Julian Tesoro, things looking pretty good. Dominic Tesoro there riding in that second position. Then you got Tristan Maher sitting in third. Philip Scott a little bit further back than I was expecting. I just wonder if Philip, there he is in that World Ninja League F-150. I wonder if he's maybe thinking about conserving his tires. You know what? We've heard tires be kind of key. We've heard they fall off a significant amount. Trying to keep those tires underneath them could be important. He did a really good job last night in the Xfinity Series race that they have here in the National Sim Racing Association. Pretty much dominated that race from what I read, but so far 3 seconds from your front driver right now, who is Julian Tesoro, as they complete lap number 2. Here's Tyler Bellinger, last week's race winner at Pocono, peeling over off into the dirty line. I think he's going to allow the 971 of Nate Maurer on by, looks like it, so move Nate Maurer up into 9th. That is +1 position from where he was at the beginning of the race. Bellinger, on the other hand, started in 8th and is now on the fringe of falling outside of the top 10. However, he does have a little bit of a gap formed behind him to Justin White back there. But I think we're going to have to keep our eyes on how these tires fall off over the run. Maybe some of these drivers are saving here in the early runnings. We see a pass for a position up around the 6th position. Doug Neal getting around the number 14 back channel Productions machine of Jeff Price. There is Jeff right there. Meanwhile, some problems a little bit further back in the pack. Oop, there we go. The number 22 machine. That's John Flamian, who appeared to have a little bit of an issue, but really so far everything has been fairly clean here in the opening 3 laps.
And to your point, as we take a look at the replay here, just to see what happened with number 22, Flamian heading down into the bus stop. A little bit late on the brake, well, maybe a little early on the braking zone. Actually, got a little loose into the Armco and kind of pancaked the passenger side there, so some substantial damage there. But back to your point about saving tires, Watkins Glen's really unique in that instance, because a lot of road courses, you kind of expect the tire wear to be kind of equal between the left and right sides. Maybe not perfectly equal, but relatively close. Watkins Glen really only has one true left-hander. Other than that, every turn on this track is a right-hander, so you are wearing out that side of the car almost the opposite of what you do on an oval. So not only do you have to build the setup around that fact, but trying to save the tires is difficult because you are always going to be burning up that side of the car a lot quicker than the other. You got to really back up your corner entries, watch those steering inputs, and that's really all you can do. Conservation will be important, but it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, a little bit of racing a little bit further back in the back as Nate Maurer has improved his position one more. He's now moved up into 8th position right there in the 971 truck. Meanwhile, Adam Newton's starting to get some pressure from Tyler Bellinger. Let's go on board with the Ford F-150 driver of Bellinger here as they race their way down the front stretch. About 3/4 of a second between the front two Tesoros, and then about another 3/4 of a second back to Tristan Maher. And then, oh man, late on the brakes there with Tyler Bellinger, had to get it blowed up. Almost got into the back of the number 29 machine of Adam Newton. This is probably the best battle on the racetrack right now, sitting in the 8th, 9th, and 10th positions. And back behind them, Justin White, Vincent Valvano battling for 11th. But for right now, pretty much the entire field single file as we work through lap number 5 into the bus stop. Here, heavy on the brakes. You mentioned this was a good passing zone there, Andre, but no passing seen this time as Bellinger trying to get that launch out of the last portion of the bus stop into the carousel, and then this is where you really got to get a good drive out, but Bellinger has a bit of a slide there, has to correct, and that's going to hurt his drive all the way down the straightaway. You can see that number 29 just gaining a little bit of time on him.
Yeah, that carousel is going to make the car loose every time. You're going downhill. Sometimes it feels like the car is just starting to float as the 14 has a bit of a moment. They're getting a little bit loose. Jeff Price able to gather it up, get back out on the straightaway. No harm, no foul there. But at that carousel, you're almost in a consistent four-wheel slide every single time, even if you're having a good lap. Whoa! Number 77, Doug Neal, locks up the brakes, spins into the very small section of infield there in turn 1. I believe he was able to avoid the inside Armco barrier, so he's going to keep going. But now, right behind him, he's got some challenge. Looks like it is going to be Nate Maurer trying to run him down as they work their way up the S's, which, again, that's another part of the track that's going to get worse and worse as the tires wear. On a fresh set of tires, you're going to be flat-footing it up that hill, and then as the race goes on, you're going to be lifting more and more. It's going to be a game of chicken. Who's going to lift the least is going to be who's fastest. Coming back down the carousel, whole field working their way through, and you can kind of see it right there, Peter. You see that four-wheel slide that they're almost all engaged in through that corner. You have to be able to do that to be fast, but it can go wrong very quickly.
Yeah, it can go wrong in a hurry. Luckily for Doug Neal there in turn number 1 that last time, things did not get any worse. Here we go on board with Nate Maurer. This is where we saw a couple of drivers get squirrely that last time out of the final corner. And you have to think about this, Andre. We're only working lap number 7. We've only completed 6 laps here out of the scheduled 55 on hand here tonight, and these drivers are already starting to struggle with the tires, and you can just tell those trucks are a little bit more uneasy than they were when those tires were fresh and new. Here we go, Nate Maurer pedaling it up through the S's, just cresting that top there all the way down the long backstretch. And you can see that the speed that they're getting through here is pretty good. 165 miles an hour on the speedometer there before Nate Maurer gets on the binders down to about 80 miles an hour. I mean, still 85 to 90 miles an hour through that bus stop. I mean, you think about that, and could you imagine doing that in real life? Could you imagine whipping your way through that bus stop at 90 miles an hour? You mentioned Mark Martin, who said that this is kind of the super speedway of road courses. Well, sure enough, 90 miles an hour through that tight little bus stop, that's booking it through there.
And that's on slightly worn tires. Those guys were even faster through that section on the fresh tires and on the back straightaway because they were able to flat-foot it up the hill. I believe they were getting up to about 170 before they had to even lift for the bus stop. So even with worn tires, the speeds they're carrying are nothing short of phenomenal as we continue to ride on board. Nate's losing a little bit of time to the car ahead here, but wiggle right there, got a little bit sideways, but again, you're going to see a lot of that as these tires degrade back up the S's, up to the top of the hill, trying to control that throttle. That's the most important thing in these S's. It's not so much your steering input, it's your throttle input. You got to be smooth, you got to get it right, otherwise you're going to have a bad time. That Armco barrier is on either side of you just waiting for you to make a mistake. back into the bus stop. They got those markers on the right-hand side, and tell you what, sometimes those markers, they almost deceive you. You know, you have a braking zone when you got fresh tires. You're thinking, okay, I'm going to brake at the 4. And you start doing that, and it works. And then pretty soon your tires are worn. You're still braking at the 4 because you think you can, and then suddenly you're overshooting the corner. So you got to continually back that up as they head back down the short chute into the left-right complex here. Really the only left-hander on the entire track, and it's a very fast corner. Peter, he didn't go below 90 miles an hour in that near 90-degree corner.
Yeah, it's very, very impressive. That's for sure, with these drivers making their way around the racetrack. But one battle that I want to highlight here is one that's brewing for second. This is Dominic Tesoro, the number 69, who was our pole sitter here tonight. Was up there with his brother at the start of the fight, but now, believe it or not, the number 17 of Tristan Meyer, our points leader, is starting to close in here. And things are starting to look pretty darn good for that number 17 as these tires continue to wear on.
Yeah, the 17 may have been conserving a little bit at the start of the race. So like you said, that could be pretty important. And if you do cook those tires at this track, there's really not a whole lot you can do. You're just going to be losing speed until you come down pit road. So 17 seems to have some pretty good long run speed. I'm not entirely sure what the fuel mileage is going to be here at Watkins Glen. I would imagine at 55 laps, it's going to be a one-stop race. And of course, cautions will be almost non-existent. I think a Meteor would have to hit the track to get a full course caution at Watkins Glen. So assuming it stays green, just one stop. A lot of these guys probably going to be wanting to split it down the middle, pitting right in the middle of the race. Maybe some guys change up the strategy here or there, as they are free to do. I mean, you can pit here and not go a lap down, and you have that added confidence of knowing that a caution will not come out to kind of mess with your strategy. So maybe some undercuts, maybe some overcuts. We'll have to wait and see. But this battle between the 69 and the 17 pretty much is identical now as it was last lap. The 17 right on his bumper through the bus stop. And I think he gets a little bit better entry speed, and that's where he's closing in every single lap. When we get to the carousel, when we get to that left-right, I think the 69 is just as fast, if not a little bit faster. But through that bus stop, Peter, that 17 is closing the gap, and now he's there. He's at the point where he could take the air off the spoiler of the truck in front. He's in line to maybe move down. He thought about it there. You saw that swerve, maybe trying to make a move, but he knew that he wasn't going to be close enough. Now to the outside, which is going to put him on the inside for the final corner. Can he get there? Down on the curb? No. Tesoro holds him off for another lap, but gets a little bit loose doing it. They are driving the wheels off these trucks.
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job right here on your screen for everyone at home to see here on 3 Wide TV. I'm just curious on how long these two can battle it out before the number 99 of Philip Scott starts to make some inroads on them, because he's back there, remember, just a couple seconds behind this group, and I think he's probably saving his tires. So he's one driver I'm going to be keeping my eyes on here as this run continues to go on.
Yeah, he definitely could close the gap here. If these guys start battling any harder, they're going to be slowing each other down, and then it may be a 3-truck battle for second place. Right now, I think the number 30 is pretty set in the lead. I think he's a little bit quicker than these 2 trucks behind, but I don't know. Seems like that time through the bus stop, actually, this group may have made up some time on our leader. So this could get interesting, because it seems like Philip Scott is slowly catching this group, and the leader is slowly falling back to them. So this battle might be getting a little bit more dynamic as the race progresses. Hold on.
Oh.
My Discord is, I'm having a little bit of a technical difficulty.
Well, we will we'll keep an eye on that. But meanwhile, Tristan Maher in the number 17 has made that pass, worked his way up into second. Good job there, Tristan, in the Eclipse Photography number 17. He'll now set his sights on Julian Tesoro in the number 30 up in front. So we'll see whether or not Tristan Maher is able to run him down or not as this run continues to go on here. If you're just now joining us, here we are at the beautiful Watkins Glen International Speedway, upstate New York, I should say. got to pronounce the K. Seems like Tristan Maher might be just starting to struggle with those rear tires just a little bit as well. I always wonder how long this can go on before we finally start to see the number 99 start to close up in the background there on your screen. But nonetheless, some really good action here on 3 wide TV up towards the front of the field. You haven't missed a whole lot further back in the field. Nate Maurer in the 971 still running in the 8th position. Tom Lester appears to have fallen 2 laps down now. Big slide out of the back of Dominic Tesoro there at the back of the screen. He is able to keep things going and pointing in the right direction, but here, Andre, you have to think that maybe those tires are wearing out on that number 69 as he starts to lose ground on the front two.
Yeah, that thing is definitely not handling to his liking right now, and it makes sense. Tristan Maher was applying a lot of pressure, and he was forcing Tesoro to overdrive that truck and really kind of send it into the corners a little bit deeper than he wanted to, brake a little bit later, get on the throttle a little bit sooner, and just play some hardcore defense. And when you're doing that, you're just going to be using up your equipment. And unfortunately, that seems to be coming back to bite him right now, as the 99 Philip Scott is not far behind. We have a little bit of separation for the first time among our lead pack here, but I don't think that separation is necessarily going to last. Tristan Maher is less than a second back from our leader. Mind you, this is after battling with the 69 for going on 5 or 6 laps straight and using up his equipment doing so. He gets around him, and immediately he's less than a second back from our leader. He may actually have the faster long-run truck, and we are a ways off from pitting, so we'll see what he can do. He's got a decent handful of laps ahead of him to try to run down this leader. And again, it just seems like he has the pace. He knows how to make the pass, knows how to do it clean. So we'll see, but the 3rd place truck just trying to give himself some breathing room in front of the 99. Philip Scott hungry for points. You mentioned that Pocono did not go too well for the 99, so any points that he can salvage tonight will be of utmost importance, and that's probably all he's thinking about as he's watching that 69 in front of him. He's probably thinking, that's more points right there if I can just get to him.
Yeah, trying to slice his way up through the field, that is for sure. Trying to make every little bit that he can out there on the racetrack for all to see. Meanwhile, you guys can't see this. I'm trying to fix some of our graphics here, and somehow Andre can see it, and somehow they've all ended up upside down. So I'm having to do this while we got this great action happening out there on the racetrack. I'll tell you what, this Tesoro Motorsports logo upside down does not quite look as good as it does right side up, as you see Vincent Valvano rejoining the racetrack in this battle. Oh man, you can see that number 69 is really starting to struggle there, Andre, with the grip on the back of that Toyota Tundra, as he falls definitely into the clutches now. Philip Scott, who's still maintaining about 3 seconds or so behind our race leader, Dominic Tesoro, but Tristan Maher is starting to creep in as well up at the front of the field.
Yeah, Maher is definitely closing the gap. I think he's got a faster truck than the leader. But this battle for 3rd place, this is going to be really interesting, because it seems like the 69 has just completely spent his equipment. It's gone. That thing's sliding through every corner. He's fighting it at every single part of the track. There's really no section here which seems to be good for him, as he's just loose out of every corner. Meanwhile, Philip Scott, he looks pretty comfortable. He's not really overdriving the car. Doesn't look like he's pushing the limits there. Very firmly planted in the corners, not doing a whole lot of skating, which is exactly what you want to do to preserve those tires. And you know, on paper, you'd think that this... Whoa! What happened to Philip Scott right there? He's out of frame. Did he come down pit road? Yes, he did.
Yeah, a little bit early. I would not have expected this quite so early, to be perfectly honest with you. But Philip Scott is coming down pit road right now, coming to his pit crew. Maybe going to try the undercut a little bit here in that number 99 World Ninja League machine. Just a little bit surprising. Did not expect this out of this particular driver. Expected him to kind of play the long game. But, you know, we are right now on lap number 16. Let's do the math. That would see him pitting on lap number 32 and lap number 48 if he was to kind of continue this going. So I wonder if the Philip Scott has a 3-stop strategy in mind here tonight. We heard from the Tesoro Motorsports machines that they're thinking about a 2-stop strategy at kind of the beginning of the night, but that would be very interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, if he's going for 3 stops, I think that's pretty drastic. I'm not entirely certain that he would be able to make up for the time coming down pit road. This is a pretty long pit road with a very long exit as well. When you make that right-hander, you've got to stay underneath the blend line, and you spend a lot of time getting your car serviced at this track. You're not going to go a lap down by any means, but you'd have to make up a ton of time on those fresh tires, and I guess it remains to be seen. He seems pretty confident that he might be able to do so. It might have just been also, Peter, that he got up behind the 69. He knew that, Tesoro was not going to roll over and just let him go by any means. He knew it was going to be a battle. He knew he was going to be slowed down pretty substantially the more time he spent behind him. So he just decided, you know what? I'm going to come down pit road. I'm going to get fresh tires, fresh track, and I'm just going to put down some hot laps, and we'll see where we cycle out.
Yeah, I'm curious to know how that's all going to work out, because he's currently 40 seconds behind this driver that you see right here, Julian Tesoro, who last time by put in a really good lap time, about 0.8 of a second faster than the number 17, Tristan Maher, back behind him. You can see these drivers' last lap time there at the top of your screen. But Julian Tesoro working his way right now out of the final corner again, still managing the rear tires, but doing so very well. We saw that gap between the front two down below a second a couple of laps ago. In fact, let's see if we can kind of bring that up there. You can see it's kind of been yo-yoing back and forth, but last time by another half of a second to Julian Tesoro. So that number 30 is really turning up the wick here late in this run, Andre. Definitely showing that he knows how to keep the tires underneath that Toyota Tundra.
Yeah, it really is like somebody flipped a switch. It seemed like Maher was gaining, and then all of a sudden, just rocket boosters out of the back of that number 30, and he's pulling away by not a small margin every single lap. I mean, he is just half a second is quite a bit here, especially on such worn tires. So that's kind of unexpected. I really thought we were going to see an organic battle for the lead here before the pit sequence really kicked off, but I guess it does make sense. Tristan, he had to battle with Dominic in the number 69, and he had to spend a lot of time carving his way up through the field, passing a lot of cars, and now we're on lap 18. His tires are just a little bit more spent than our leaders, who really, he's had it easy. Out of everybody in this lead pack, he's had it the easiest. He's not had anybody applying pressure, nobody making him overdrive as he comes down pit road, as well as the number 17. Looks like, yep, there comes Dominic as well, the number 69. But yeah, nobody applying pressure from behind, nobody to run down. He's had the luxury of just being able to run his race, hit his marks, run his pace, and be able to conserve his equipment. No need to overdrive. And if he can get a good stop, that's a luxury he will keep if he can cycle out front here. But it is going to be interesting to see here, as I always find it interesting that at Watkins Glen on iRacing, I'm not sure if they still do it, but it used to be on iRacing. At Watkins Glen, they would change the right side tires first, which is how you do things on an oval. But at Watkins Glen, generally, you'd change the left side tires first. I'm not sure if that's still a thing, though. As they come out of pit road, the number 30 is just barely going to stay ahead of the 17, but look at all that ground he gained right there, Peter. He was a second and a half back. Now he's on the bumper.
Yeah, that was a really good pit stop sequence out of the number 17 machine there of Tristan Maher. Meanwhile, with the number 59 machine, Glen Sparling has continued to stay out there on the racetrack and has inherited the race lead. There is the Tesoro Motorsports Toyota Tundra of Sparling. Haven't really mentioned him a whole lot here tonight as he works his way into the penultimate corner right here. We'll see whether or not he elects to come down onto pit lane this time. But with drivers pitting on lap number 18, that should get them to lap number 36 there, and that will get them another 18 or so laps from there will get them really close to the checkered flag. So looks like Blaine Sparling here turning another lap. Definitely holding steadfast to that two-stop strategy. But one thing that I thought was very interesting as we saw the drivers that were in the lead work their way back out onto the racetrack. Here is one of those, the number 30 of Julian Tesoro, as he gets past Tyler Bellinger, who has yet to make his first pit stop here tonight. Is that Philip Scott back there, the number 99. Andre did not gain as much time as I was expecting him to. Remember, he was about 4 or 5 seconds behind your race leader when he did come down pit road kind of unannounced. And he still comes out a couple of seconds behind our race leaders. So, well, at least the drivers we anticipate will cycle through to our race leaders. So that's a bit of a surprise to me. I don't know if Philip might have had a little bit of a mishap or something. He definitely did gain ground, just not as much as I was expecting. As, ooh, man, there goes the 971 machine off into the dust. That's Nate Maurer, who's yet to make his pit stop. And there's a big gaggle of trucks right here on your screen. A couple of trucks with old tires, trucks with new tires, and they're racing one another. Here comes Philip Scott diving underneath Nate Maurer. Fresh tires versus old tires right here on your screen as the old tires scream off into the runoff zone. Nate Maurer here trying to hold off the 29 machine behind him. That, of course, is Adam Newton, but he said, you know what, I've had enough of this. I'm coming down pit road right now. Leaves number 29 machine of Adam Newton, kind of one of the only cars left out there. Blaine Sparling, though, continues to turn laps in his number 59 machine, but Julian Tesoro has cycled through up into second here, as that was a little bit of chaos here at Watkins Glen International.
Yeah, like I said, I kind of predicted that even if we have a relatively small field tonight, you're still going to see a lot of close racing, and that's exactly what we're getting. These guys getting bunched up, not only by the racing itself, but by the strategy as well. And going back to Scott in the 99, he was about 5 seconds back when that sequence began, when he peeled off pit road. Now he's about 2 seconds off our leader. So he did gain, like you said. The thing is, I don't think he had enough time to gain much more than that. I think he was expecting the leaders to stay out a lot longer, whereas they really only stayed out an extra couple laps after he pitted. So he gained about as much as he could, I think. But right now, the strategy that I'm most interested in is Sparling in the 59. I think that he's going to go for a one-stop strategy here. I think he's going to try to make it to the high 20s in lap count and then come down pit road. He should have enough fuel to be able to make a one-stop possible. As no, here he comes down pit road, lap 22, so that'll be lap 44 if he pits again, if he's not good to the end, at which point that's kind of an awkward pit window too, Peter, because that would be about 11 laps to go. You could theoretically take half a tank of gas and make it to the end from there, but then what do you do for tires? Do you take 2 tires? Do you take all 4? Do you maybe just take the splash and go? That's an interesting strategy that he seems to be running here.
Yeah, I kind of like the strategy, though. You make it to lap number 22 or so, then you pit around lap number 44, and then that, like you said, kind of allows you to take about a half tank of fuel right there at the end of the night for your final run, for kind of a low fuel run to the checkered. So he's kind of been on his own kind of pace here tonight, not quite fast enough to keep in touch with the front 4, but definitely kind of has the majority of the rest of the field covered in that number 59 machine. But he has the freshest tires now. Let's see what he can do. Let's see if he can gain some ground on the front drivers here as this race continues to click on by. I do want to make mention of the chat. Stan Hausman saying had a 4-year-old who refused to go to bed, hated to miss tonight. Tough break there, Stan. Hopefully you can be back out there on the racetrack next week in your beautiful BeerStreetJournal.com machine. In fact, I have not mentioned BeerStreetJournal.com yet here tonight. One of our series sponsors for the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. I go to BeerStreetJournal.com quite a bit to go check out craft beer news. Follow them on Facebook and Twitter as well, to make sure I stay on top of it on all social media platforms. Stay Tuned Sports in the chat saying, late to the party, 3 trucks out already. What happened? Those 3 trucks that you see currently being scored out, well, now we have actually added one, as Doug Neal has left the racing service as well. Might have to do some investigation on the Simbox 77. But the 3 trucks that you saw down there, Tellier, Mathis, and Martin Plute, did not start here tonight. So we only have 14 trucks on the grid. Now let's see if we can, if I can do maybe a little bit of investigation on what exactly happened to the number 77 machine. Not seeing anything really jump out on my end. I don't know if you have anything on your end there, maybe having connection issues or something like that on the number 77. I'm not seeing anything coming up for the number 77 of Doug Neal. Do you have anything, Andre?
No, the only thing that I've seen was his incident in turn 1 where he got a little bit loose and slid through the grass, but he was able to recover from that, and I know he got back out on the track for at least a few laps after that. Could have been a hardware issue, or maybe just something came up in real life, but I didn't see anything on track that would lead to him DNFing here.
Well, let's see if I can maybe do a little bit of investigation here for the number 77 machine to see if I can figure out what may have caused the DNF here for the Simbox truck. Unfortunately, he was putting together a pretty decent run. This might take me a little bit of time because he had an extended pit stop. Let's see. This might tell the story for everyone back at home. This was quite a few laps ago now, going down into turn number 1. It didn't come up on my live timing and scoring software that he even had an issue here, but gets on that curb a little bit and pile drives into the inside wall. And yeah, that is definitely not good for the number 77. Had to take a tow back to his pit box and eventually ended up retiring that Chevrolet Silverado here tonight. So tough break for him. So let's get back to the live action, however. Out there on the racetrack. There is your race leader, Julian Tesoro. Tristan Maher sits in second, about 1.8 seconds behind. Philip Scott actually has moved around Dominic Tesoro up into third, so move Philip onto the podium and trying to march his way forward. Remember, slightly older tires, I think 2 or 3 lap older tires than most of the drivers that he's racing around. That could be interesting towards the end of this run, but at least for now, Philip Scott saying, you know what, older tires, no big deal here, as he is on the podium, sitting in third right now.
Yeah, and he's not falling back as quickly as I would have expected. With having the 3-lap older tires, I really thought that Dominic was going to be able to reel him in and pass him with ease, but so far, while he is gaining, it is a slow crawl up to him, and when he gets there, it'll be a whole other thing trying to pass him. But here we go, here's a battle through the bus stop. Nate Maurer and Tyler Bellinger, these guys have been battling pretty much the entirety of the race, coming through the carousel here and right out to the point where you want to track extend just a little bit, carry a little bit of momentum. I think Bellinger's going to close in down the short chute, not going to get within overtaking range by any means, just getting a little bit closer. And then through this very fast left-hander, he's going to come up, playing with fire again. You can't put 4 tires over that curb. The game does not like that. So when he put 2 tires over, that was really testing the limits, but fortunately able to avoid any issues there as they come down the straightaway and again into the heavy braking zone that is turn 1. Downhill, highly banked, at least as far as a road course is concerned. That's a lot of banking. Then back to Dominic here. Another good battle as we continue to ride on our onboard cams. And oh man, if we thought, oh boy, now that's really playing with fire, Peter.
Yeah, right now, number 69 is really pushing to get back to that third position where he was a little while ago. Look at Philip Scott doing a good job of apexing turn number 1. Tesoro getting the power down a little bit better, but look at Scott using all of that runoff that you can use there off the side of the exit of turn number 1. Dominic not quite using as much, but might be saving a little bit of tire in doing so. And race up through the S's down onto the back straight. Let's go check out Tyler Bellinger and Nate Maurer. Check out that battle as we continue to work our way around the racetrack. The number 971 here still holding on to that position. Now Adam Newton's starting to get back into this picture. Remember, Adam Newton actually, Andre, he went 2 extra laps relative to these 2 drivers in front of him, so slightly fresher tires on the number 29 Toyota Tundra at the back of the screen. So we'll have a 3-truck battle, and these 3 have been pretty much locked together since the drop of the green flag. I think it was probably around lap number 4 when we saw these 3 trucks for the first time tonight, all battling for position. Here we are, add 24 laps to lap 3, and they're still duking it out here halfway down the backstretch. So a good battle, and that's what you get sometimes here on these road courses. You kind of get these long haul battles that we really won't find a victor until late in the race, maybe even the final lap, as we've seen some stellar finishes this season here in the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series as they work their way around the lap traffic there. The number 48 of Tom Lester stays out of the way of this battle for position, and now looks like Bellinger, last week's race winner at Pocono, has a nose on the inside as they head into the penultimate corner, but Maurer holds on.
He is just barely going to get himself clear before the corner entry, now way to the outside of the curb, able to avoid a penalty there, and actually carries a lot of momentum. But here comes Bellinger through the final corner. He's going to close that gap again, poke his nose down to the inside. He is pulling up alongside for position here. Can he outbrake him and get clear through turn 1 down into the heavy banking? Yes, he is going to get clear, but is it going to be a crossover from Nate? Yes, it is, in contact. Bellinger into the inside wall. Heavy damage on the 21.
Yeah, last week's race winner there going for a little bit of a spin. Let's see if we can go back and get that one here on the 3-wide TV replay. Another look as there was definite contact. Here we go, going off into turn number 1. Bellinger diving it in deep, but then just gets a little bit sideways. Nowhere for Maurer to go but into the back of the quality care machine. Probably needed to take care of those tires just a little bit better there as they lit up and unfortunately sent him into the inside wall off the nose of the 971. Let's see if we can get kind of one more look at that from the onboard angle. From, oh, that's not right. Let's go back a little bit further. Sorry about that, folks. Here we go, onboard with the quality care machine. Had that great lunge, that great move to the inside, and then just got a little bit too happy on the throttle. And you're right there, Andre. The Maurer tried to go for that over-under, and he was kind of already set up for it. And that did not help the situation with Bellinger kind of spinning towards the inside wall. Now, this was further up the racetrack. Let's keep our eye on this battle because the number 29 of Adam Newton, slightly fresher tires. This is still on replay. Not sure if something happened to Maurer coming out of the carousel or not, but Newton keeping it nice and tidy through there. They went off into the carousel. Maurer runs wide there on entry into the carousel corner. Adam Newton taking full advantage of that. The 29 machine working his way on by, and that is how that pass was done. Let's go back to live scenes here, though, at the Watkins Glen International Raceway. There's Tyler Bellinger, has not come down pit road, still fighting that damaged race truck out there on the racetrack. Meanwhile, up towards the front of the field, Dominic Tesoro still hounding the back bumper, or the rear tailgate, I should say, of the number 99 of Philip Scott as we have reached the halfway distance here in tonight's Tesoro Motorsports 175. Looking at one of the Tesoro Motorsports machines as they run first, fourth, and fifth. So far, so good for the Tesoro Motorsports team. As your front four here, Andre, still just separated by 3 3/4 seconds. It's been a good battle up towards the front of the field.
Yeah, a lot of close racing so far. I do want to point out that Nate got more damage from that contact than I had initially thought. When we took a look at his truck after the incident, his front end was bent in quite a bit, which, as we all know, on iRacing is probably the worst place to get damage. You can really damage your radiator and even get some engine damage with contact like that. So I've noticed that Nate's pace has fallen off a little bit ever since that happened. You saw him let Newton go. I think it's because he was feeling that truck just wasn't up to par, and he wasn't going to battle the 29 for it, so we let him go. That's a shame, because, again, that was just a hard racing deal. Nate was just going for the over-under there on Bellinger, and when Bellinger got loose, there just really wasn't anywhere for him to go, so we'll have to keep an eye on him, see if that damage continues to impact his race. But this battle right here, Tesoro, Philip Scott, I really thought that this was going to be a battle that was sorted a long time ago. Philip Scott is doing a great job keeping the tires on that thing. Again, 3-lap older tires than the truck behind him, which at a track that's over 2 miles is pretty significant. And yet still able to play some defense. He's able to fend him off for now. I think Dominic is definitely faster, but just not able to get close enough to make the lunge as of yet. The other thing we got to be thinking about here, Peter, is that we got to be getting close to a second pit stop for some of these guys, especially Philip Scott, who is the earliest adopter to pit road.
Yeah, that number
Coming
99. Sorry about that. Just had my microphone muted there for a second. But yeah, that number 99, Philip Scott. He was our earliest adopter on pit road. He pitted, I think, on lap number 15. We just cracked 25 laps ago, so 24 laps ago. So he's been out there now on the racetrack for 15 or so laps. Something's happened to Tristan Maher, who is out of the groove, and the number 17 machine. I'm seeing some damage on the Eclipse Photography truck. As they go off into the bus stop, Maher going to fall from second all the way back to fourth. Let's see if we can see what happened to the Eclipse Photography machine here on 3 Wide TV. So we'll put a little bit of a pin in that thought as Philip Scott now is up into second. Good news for him, but something must have happened here to the Eclipse Photography machine. Let's go back and see what happened. Already a little bit of front end damage on that truck here. You see just a few crinkles there in the front of it, and then just pushed up into the wall, caught the wall there. You see paint rubbed off the right-hand side of that F-150, losing out second spot right there. And here comes Dominic Tesoro, who made that pass for third here into the bus stop. You mentioned earlier that's a good passing opportunity, and sure enough, Dominic Tesoro making use of that. The 69 now back up into third, and Philip Scott up to second. First time we've seen him up to second here tonight.
Yeah, for this up the grid that he's been, and going back to the 17, that is a trouble spot on worn tires. It's going to get... Oh, Lester having an issue off into the sand runoff. He's able to keep it going, I believe. Unfortunately, iRacing is a little bit more forgiving with the gravel traps than real life, so he's able to get back out on track and rejoin safely there. But yeah, as the tires wear, that second turn in the S's is going to get tighter and tighter. And the worst part about it, Peter, is sometimes you feel that truck getting tight and you know that you're about to face some understeer. So you let off the throttle and it doesn't do anything. The car just keeps sailing to that outside wall. It's like once it's made up its mind, it's made it up. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if they got a magnet in that Armco barrier, but I have done exactly what that 17 truck did too many times to count. So unfortunately, a tough part of the track struck him. But what's really interesting here, Peter, as we can see on screen, he hasn't really lost a lot of time since he made that recovery. He was able to get back out on track. He cycled out right behind the 69, and now 2 laps later, well, he's still right there. He's not really falling back. So it seems like the truck still has some pace in it. I'm curious to see when they come down pit road, does he maybe spend a little bit of extra time to get that damage fixed, or does he decide, no, I don't need to do that because clearly he's still got some pace. As he clips the grass, that's got me nervous. Is he all right? Yes, he is. Oh, man. You never want to clip the grass there, but he kept it in control.
Yeah, right now that number 17 machine of Tristan Maher. Whoa! Big slide there through the S.
No.
Still sliding. Like a bucking Bronco in that F-150. We're at 22 laps to go. I think the pit window is open here, Andre, for the drivers to make it the rest of the way on fuel. I wouldn't be all surprised if we see Tristan Maher, one of our earliest adopters here for the what we believe will be the second and final pit stop of the night. The good news for Philip Scott is it looks like he will get into the window where he can make it on just one more stop here tonight. And looking at lap times, Philip Scott is on pace with Julian Tesoro as, yeah, here comes Maher on pit road right now. Justin White as well. That was a little bit of a hairy moment getting to pit lane, but Maher has, I think, had enough of those tires.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know how he made it through that bus stop. He had all 4 tires off the ground, with the front tires pointed in the opposite direction of the corner he was supposed to be taking. So the fact that he got through there and didn't even really lose that much time, what a move. That was pretty impressive. We'll see where he cycles out after this pit sequences. Again, he's going to be one of the earliest adopters. Philip Scott still out on track. He's 3 seconds behind our leader, and he's got Dominic Tesoro just a few truck lengths behind him as they work their way through the bus stop here. Dominic pretty consistent, but it just seems like that 99 has such good long-run speed to be able to hold off a truck that at one point had fresher tires. Now I think they've gotten to the plateau, so that's kind of playing into the 99's hands. He's kind of got a bit of a safety bubble there, knowing that, well, everybody's tires are so worn that it doesn't matter if they're 3 laps fresher, 3 laps older. They're just kind of evening out. They've hit that plateau. The lap times are going to be just about the same as, Philip Scott goes off the track. Hopefully he doesn't get a penalty there where he's got to give up time, but he is going to come down pit road. Dominic deciding he's going to stay on the track for another lap, so 99 working his way towards the pit stall, and it's going to once again be a Tesoro 1-2 for the time being. 4 seconds separating them as Sparling is 35 seconds back from our leader in 4th. He's the next car behind Philip Scott. Tristan Maher behind Sparling. And Jeff Price, Adam Newton all on the lead lap. Tyler Bellinger getting back on the lead lap, it seems. Minute 28 back as the timing and scoring shows. That shouldn't be lead lap, but, you know, during pit sequences, timing and scoring can get wonky. 99 goes up on the jack, and I'm curious to see. He was about 3 seconds back from our leader before this pit sequence here, Peter. If Tesoro stays out another lap, theoretically, Scott may be able to cycle out in front of him, but he's going to be on the older tires.
Yeah, slightly older tires for sure. Let's see how it all shakes out. Yeah, it looks like Tristan Maher will stay behind Philip Scott here. So the Eclipse Photography F-150, in fact, I don't know, it might even look a little bit worse than the last time we checked on it. Not sure if he's made further contact with the Armco barrier here, but he's definitely trying to get all he can get there over at those rumble strips through the bus stop. But that number 17 definitely not looking 100%, and you would think that will affect his pace here. Not sure if that's 100% true, but right now we got race leader on pit road, the number 30, Julian Tesoro. Dominic Tesoro also following Julian on pit road, so it is a busy moment here in the Tesoro Motorsports camp. There's the number 69 driving right through the number 30, RIP to the pit crew. There you see Tyler Bellinger getting back under power as well, and the number 21 there, bottom of your screen. Looks like Julian Tesoro down and away here from his pit box, and he will try and rejoin the racetrack. 69 of Dominic Tesoro now down and away. Blaine Sparling continuing to stay out. Meanwhile, look at this, right out there on the racetrack right now. Andre battle for what will be the race lead once we see Blaine Sparling come down pit road. Number 99, Philip Scott, he's got hot tires. Those tires will be nice and grippy. The number 30 of Julian Tesoro will have to go into defend mode here as we go up into the bus stop down the back stretch.
Yeah, the 99's not quite cycling out where he wanted. He ideally wanted to come out just in front of that 30, but it was a great stop by the 30 crew to keep him in the lead. Now it's up to the driver on these cold tires. He's going to be slip sliding around for the next lap and a half or so before they come up to temperature, and the 99's going to be hungry to pass him while he's trying to deal with that. But it looks like through the carousel, the 30 is able to maintain the gap, actually extending the lead just a little bit into this braking zone after the short shoot. 99 gets a good line, closes the gap. Now into the right-hander, closes it even more. That's where those warm tires come into effect. But now we're getting to the point where the leader, Tesoro, is going to have warm tires coming up here. So that advantage that the 99 has is going to be fading. Big braking zone down into turn 1. The 99 is going to once again outbrake him, close the gap just a little bit. Both running near identical lines, tire track for tire track. Back up the S's. Who's going to lift, who's not? Well, they should be able to flat-foot it on both ends here as they are on fresh tires. And a great run for the 30s. Actually going to get him through the S's a little bit quicker.
Yeah, that was a really good run for the number 30 of Julian Tesoro, and all of a sudden some of that pressure off the back of that Toyota Tundra will be eased as he continues to pull away. Oh, back of the screen back there, Tristan Maher. I'm not sure if he went in the grass, but he looked all types of sideways there through the bus stop. You see a big gap back to Dominic Tesoro there, the number 69. Not sure if Dominic Tesoro was maybe just a little bit too easy on pit road or what, but Dominic lost quite a bit of time. He did wait, an extra lap to pit than a couple of these other drivers in front of him. It seems like just lost more time than anticipated. Blaine Sparling now coming down pit road to make his final pit stop. He will relinquish the race lead in doing so. But for right now, there you see your top two as we've cycled on through. Julian Tesoro got that little bit of a gap on Philip Scott. You see how much runoff there Philip Scott's using between turn number 1 and 2, unlike the number 30 machine of Julian Tesoro up there. And I know one thing we were talking about before the top of the show, or something that you mentioned, Andre, was whether or not there was going to be some type of penalty for having excessive incident points here tonight. The answer to that is no. So these drivers can kind of take liberty to using some of that runoff in areas where iRacing is a little bit more stringent. But nonetheless, we see Philip Scott using quite a bit of that. Now the race leader is catching up to Tyler Bellinger, who will be shown the blue flag here, as here comes the number 30 of Julian Tesoro to work his way on by in the penultimate corner. And racing him kind of hard there is Tyler Bellinger for this point of the race. He's got the leaders working his way on through, and that's, I think, going to allow Philip Scott just a little bit of an opportunity to gain some ground here as they go across the start-finish line.
Yeah, Bellinger was desperately trying to stay on the lead lap. Sometimes that's what you got to do. Obviously, you don't want to be the guy that's holding up the leaders and being in the way, but at the same time, you got your own team and your own race that you got to run, and you kind of owe it to your team to get the best result you can. So the leader was able to get around him clean. He didn't do anything wrong, just trying to stay on the lead lap. And the 99, he did make a temporary thing of it there. He was able to get a little bit closer with the help of that lap car, but then through turn 1 and up the S's kind of lost it. And it's interesting because I'm noticing lap after lap, it is the S's in turn 1 where Tesoro is a lot faster. Everywhere else, I think the 99 actually may have the advantage. You can see he closes in a ton through the bus stop, continues to close in through the carousel. He's going to close in a little bit more if history repeats itself through the next 2 turns. It's just turn 1 and through the S's where Tesoro is so quick. We got a replay. Number 2, Justin White in that Grinds Coffee Pouches machine. Locking up the tires, getting sideways and into the outside wall. Adam Newton just able to get around the outside there. I don't believe he got involved. And the number 2 getting back out on track. So I'm not sure if he was trying to pit and it just went sideways, literally, or if he was just trying to get through the corner there. But nonetheless, we got a battle here. Look at this, Tesoro and Maher. Dominic to the outside, Maher down to the bottom line. It looks like it is going to be an outside pass, as this is going to set him up to the bottom third line for the final corner. No, Maher with a great run is going to stay side by side momentarily at least. Down the straightaway, it's going to be neck and neck at the line. The 17 gets the advantage back. Tesoro now switching to the outside lane. He's going to pull up to the quarter panel. Gives him a better entry into 1, so he's going to carry a little bit more momentum out, which should get him side by side again with the number 17 as we have a replay. What? Oh, okay, no, back to live. Dominic down to the bottom through the S's here. These guys not giving an inch. Man, oh man, side by side at the top of the S's into the bus stop. Who's going to give? One of these guys is going to have to outbrake the other, but they're going to stay side by side. Going in, contact is made between them, both going sideways, and it's Dominic with the advantage coming out.
Yeah, great job there. Oh, they both go wide coming through the carousel. They somehow able to get things sorted out. Oh, I think they were trying to get around Tyler Bellinger, because let's go back and watch what happened here to Tyler Bellinger on the 3-wide TV replay. This was just in front of those two that were just battling, and I think something happened to Bellinger. Yeah, look, he got loose, and so he was down in the inside wall just like that, and that's what ran. Oh, look at Maher. Maher almost plowed into the back of Bellinger. That's really going to hurt the number 17 machine and really break up that battle, unfortunately, as we go on back to live scenes now. Right up at the front of the field, here's Julian Tesoro continuing to lead the way, now starting to put just a little bit of a gap between himself and Philip Scott now. Just up to 1.4 seconds between our front two, as the lap counter continues to wind down. Just 14 laps to go here in tonight's Tesoro Motorsports 175 here on 3Y TV in the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Let's give a shout out to the series sponsors here in the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Of course, we got tonight's race sponsor, Tesoro Motorsports. Stay Tuned Sports, link to their Podbean is in the description if you want to listen to their podcast. You can do so. Of course, the NFL kicked off their first week last week, and week 2 is this week, so you want to keep up with the good friends over at Stay Tuned Sports and their podcast. Of course, Jimbo in the chat here tonight. MaxGrafix.co. News about MaxGrafix.co. They actually have, I believe, their paint scheme in action, their Alka-Seltz number 4 paint scheme in action, I believe, tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway in the Xfinity race. So if you want to turn that on right now, I think you can go see one of those MaxGrafix.co sponsored race cars out there. on the racetrack. Meanwhile, out there on the virtual racetrack, we're getting word that something has happened to the Back Channel Productions number 14 machine. Let's see if we can see what happened here. Unfortunately, to Jeff Price in his Back Channel Productions Chevrolet. Gets into the wall there coming out of turn number 1. We've seen turn number 1 be a little bit of calamity corner, gets it back rolling, but that's a tough break for the number 14 machine. Going back to the sponsors, of course, Brookstone Animal Hospital is the sponsor of the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. Not going to get one of those here tonight unless, like you said, a cosmic event happens, Andre, and we get a caution flag to come out, but unfortunately, it does not look like we'll get a Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award, but nonetheless, we've got to give them a big shout-out, brookstonevet.com. If you're in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area, go take your pet there and let them know that 3 Wide TV sent you. Taz Racing Customs, facebook.com/Taz Racing Customs, custom diecast. Let them know the National Sim Racing Association led you on to them. I'll wait to say that, but hey, facebook.com/Taz Racing Customs. Get custom diecast of your iRacing paint schemes and more. So, great place to check out. We mentioned BeerStreetJournal.com earlier in the night, and we mentioned Simbox as well on the number 77 of Doug Neal. Unfortunately, out of this race for Simbox Motorsports, still represented by Nate Maurer in the 971, currently running one lap down in 9th, but Facebook.com/SimboxPC if you want to get a custom button box for your sim rig. I would definitely point you to Simbox PC. Check them out. Facebook.com/SimboxPC, all one word. And JNR Craftworks. Gotta say, JNR Craftworks have some really cool stuff. If you have not checked out JNR Craftworks, I'm gonna post the link in the description of the video. And right now, you can go check it out here as we're down to just 11 laps to go. Some just absolutely stellar stuff that they have that you can buy customized, home decor, outdoors. You can get some maps. They make stuff for pets. They have holiday stuff. Some of the holiday stuff, of course, with Halloween just around the corner. They have a wooden spider web door hanger wall art that you can customize with maybe your family names. Got some spiders and spider web. It looks pretty cool. But of course, a lot of other holidays are just on the horizon as well, and you can go get some of their customizable stuff on JNRCraftworks.com. So make sure you check them out. Let them know that 3Y TV sent you to them as well. But nonetheless, we still have 11 laps, make that 10 this time as the race leader works his way through the final corner here at the Watkins Glen International Speedway down to the start-finish line. Currently holding on to about a 1-second race lead. You see at the top of your screen, you could monitor what the last lap times are like, but pretty even between our front two right now, Andre. Just 0.04 of a second separating Julian Tesoro and Philip Scott on the scoring lap times this last time by. But still a lot to play for with 10 laps to go. You and I know that anything can happen here in a hurry on these road courses, and we've seen that happen tonight to a couple of drivers have problems, slip up, have a big moment, like what we just saw happen to the number 2, Justin White there, just up ahead, who sits 4 laps down now in the Grinds Coffee Pouches Chevrolet.
Yeah, I tell you what, if I'm Philip Scott, I'm going to be watching that number 30 going through the S's and going through turn 1, trying to figure out what he's doing different, because that is where he really pulls away every single time. Now, this lap car is going to actually put some more distance between them, as the number 30 had an easy time getting around him just out of the carousel, and Philip Scott's going to have to wait until the left-hander here to get around him. That's worth about 0.3 that he just lost right there. But again, Tesoro has been so good through the S's all night long. And if he wants to catch him, you know, a 1-second gap, that is not insurmountable. That's not impossible. In fact, I'd say it's very doable. But he's got to figure out where he's losing the time right here. You can see the number 30 maybe turning in just a little bit later, taking a bit of a wider sweep through the turn. And that allows him to get a good run. And again, just trying to follow his line, trying to emulate that to see if he can match that speed. Because there's other parts of the track where that 99 is just outright faster. Gap's still 1.01 seconds. That's about where it's hovered. It has not gone down to 0.9 at any point, not yet. 1 second flat coming into the bus stop. Who's going to be a little bit quicker? Let's find out going on board with the 99. He's using up every inch of curb that he possibly can. Looks like Tesoro might have been a little bit quicker into the bus stop there, now through the carousel. And this is the most frustrating thing in the world, Peter, when you can see the leader and you're not losing time to him, but you're not gaining either. You're giving it everything you got, and you're just matching his lap times almost identically, trying to figure out what can I do now through the left-hander. I've noticed Philip Scott is really fast through this left-right complex. He took it from 1.1 down to 1 flat, and then coming out of this corner here, going to maintain that gap back down into turn 1. It's going to be 8 to go this time. What can he do through turn 1? We got a couple more lap cars up ahead. You can see it's going to be a little while before we reach them. They're just in the corner of the screen. Good line through 1. Tesoro gets a little bit loose, so actually Scott brings the gap down beneath the second for the first time in a while. Able to take advantage of that. Up the S's. Can he continue to close the gap? And maybe, Peter, even get in slipstream distance. This back straightaway is long enough that the draft does impact you pretty heavily. If he can just get a couple tenths closer, that draft might do the rest of the work for him.
Yeah, definitely it is helpful. Meanwhile, let's go back to this battle. We'll keep an eye, of course, on the front two, just still about a second separating them. But this battle right now between Tyler Bellinger and Nate Maurer, these two drivers, we mentioned a little while ago, they've been kind of glued together from about lap number 3. On board with the 971 as he heads down the backstretch, using that slipstream that you were just talking about, hitting those curbs maybe a little bit hard on entry. That's allowed Bellinger to scoot away just a little bit. Maurer doing a good job of staying hugged up close to that yellow line through the carousel. Should be able to get power down and does close a little bit of that gap. But these two, I'll tell you what, Andre, I would go to guess that that these two are probably having a whale of a time out there. They might be a little frustrated with one another because they just can't get away. They seem like they're just glued to one another lap after lap after lap after lap. But nonetheless, they know they're fighting. They are absolutely fighting. That's what you want to do. You don't want to just end up kind of on your own island. You want to be fighting with one another, and that's what they're doing right here, right now, for the 7th position. As they have some lap traffic in front of them. I believe that is the 22 Fleming. Just a little bit up ahead, who's currently being scored 14 laps down. Doing a good job of kind of staying out of the way of all your leaders. But right now, we're down to just 7 more laps to go. Look at Maurer there, Andre. He's trying to stay in that draft of Bellinger. He knows that that's what he's got to do to try and stay as close to that 21 as he can. Maurer missed the first apex of that bus stop. That's really going to hurt his time. Look at all that ground that he just lost right there on your screen. But looks like Bellinger caught the lap traffic in a bad spot. That's going to kind of close it back up. These two drivers just can't get away from one another. There's a big slide out of the 21 there coming out of the carousel.
Yeah, one driver makes a mistake, and then the other driver almost immediately follows suit. They just can't get away from each other. Like you said, and just hooked up at the bumper all race long from pretty much the drop of the green flag up until now, coming to 5 to go, or I suppose 6 to go. There's somebody coming down pit road. That is the number 48 of Lester. Oh, he's looking down low, back up high, maybe faking him out a little bit. What is he going to do down into turn 1? Heavy braking. Oh no, the 21 is sideways again. Contact made, they're both wrecking.
Now who can get it going faster? Who can get it going and point it in the right direction faster? No, it was Bellinger. Bellinger's the one pointing around in the right direction. He's going to scoot off into this and say, you know what? That's a net win for him. Maurer now going to have to do a lot of work to re-close that gap, but my oh my, a little bit of contact there, and under 6 laps to go between those drivers. Man, could you imagine if that had brought out a caution flag? That could have changed this race significantly. But speaking of this race, up at the front of the field, Julian Tesoro able to put another couple of tenths, just a handful of tenths between himself and Philip Scott here. Just about 1.3 seconds now between the top two. Ooh, Jeff Price there, back of the picture. Now multiple laps down, or 1 lap down rather, having a big moment there in turn number 1. Checking out the chat, we got We Are All One Ministry rooting on the Tesoro brothers, Christy Tesoro as well, saying let's go, Julian, in that number 30 as well. Welcome on in to the 3Y TV stream. Hopefully you're having a good night here with us on this YouTube channel. Make sure, if you have not yet subscribed to 3Y TV, well, you can hit that subscribe button, and you can also share the link to the video here tonight. If you want to show your friends after the race, you can hit that thumbs up button as well if you do like the video. It helps us out here on the channel, that is for sure. We appreciate all of you fans in the chat rooting us on, and as well leaving comments during the midweek. We appreciate that as well. So if you want to add a comment, you're watching this race on Rewind, and you want to let us know what you thought of all the action here tonight at Watkins Glen, well, it could end up being a nail biter. Although last lap, Andre, Julian Tesoro lapped about 2/10 or so faster than Philip Scott, an extra little gap. He will take all he can get at this stage.
Yeah, it seems like he's getting a little bit quicker at the right time. Just, again, a couple tenths quicker a lap, giving himself a little bit more of a comfortable gap. That 99 is getting smaller and smaller in the mirror, and that's exactly what he wants. For a while there, it looked like Philip Scott may be able to reel him in, but it seems like the 30 was just kind of maybe conserving his tires, waiting until the end to really start pushing the truck. We know that Philip Scott's really good in the long run, but man, I don't think anybody on track has been better in general than that number 30. He's just been out front so much today for such a large portion of the race, and just consistently good. You don't see him making that many bobbles. He's hitting the apex every single time, doing what he needs to do behind the wheel, that number 30, and if he keeps at it for almost 3 laps more once they get around this corner, well, he may be walking away with a checkered flag. But Philip Scott's not giving up. He did gain about a tenth, I think, this lap when they come to the line. We'll see, but it was 1.4 at the line last time, now 1.28, so a little bit quicker that time, but he's going to need more than that if he's going to get to him in 3 laps.
Yeah, we're down to just 3 more laps to go, and just hovering at 1 1/4 second. If you're wondering about that Tyler Bellinger-Nate Maurer battle, Maurer trying to close in last time by about a half second faster. Here is the 971, who is kind of on a charge at the moment. He's trying to make up for being spun around. The bad news is he's coming to 3 laps to go. We'll see what how much he closed in this particular lap time as they flash across the start-finish line. You see lap times there at the top of your screen as well. Tyler Bellinger turning a 1:16.76. Nate Maurer turning a 1:16.29. So again, about another half second to 971. And Bellinger has a big moment out of turn number 1 again. And that's going to give this battle for position, the battle for the 8th position, it's back on here, Andre, with just 3 laps to go as we go on board Maurer. He's closing all the way back up to that rear tailgate of the 21.
Yeah, he is closing that gap pretty quickly. It's very poetic. These guys couldn't get away from each other. They both get involved in that incident in turn 1. Huge gap gets put up between them. Now just a couple laps later, they're back together again, coming through the carousel. Nate, I think, has the faster car. He's got a little bit less damage on that machine, but can he make the pass? That's the question, because I don't know. With how much they've been following each other tonight, I'm not sure the pass is going to be very easy, even with a faster car. Seems like they've just been in a bit of a stalemate that continues to this very lap. Coming through the final corner, it's going to be 2 to go for these guys. I got to wonder if Nate's also not just a little annoyed with that incident in turn 1 that kind of got them both collected. Maybe he races a little bit harder here. We'll have to wait and see. Down into turn 1, I think you're going to see Nate close the gap a little bit more. The 21 goes wide, and it looks like Nate is going to be able to get this position headed into the S's. And he is clear. I got to wonder if maybe that wasn't a safety measure out of Bellinger. He saw him coming up, knew that he maybe wasn't going to be too pleased with that contact, and said, all right, man, you go ahead and take it.
Yeah, meanwhile, up at the front of the field, Julian Tesoro holds on to a 9/10 of a second lead. Philip Scott has been able to close in just a little bit, but the white flag is in the air. What can Philip Scott do out of desperation in that number 99? Can we see him close up a full second? That is a tall order here on the final lap as Julian Tesoro whips his way up through the S's for the final time. This long right-hander leading onto the big backstretch, still sitting at 9/10 of a second. It is going to be absolutely crucial here, Andre, for him to get the bus stop absolutely perfect on the final lap. Philip Scott closes in a little bit more. The number 30 goes over the curbing, now under 7/10 of a second, but Philip Scott with a big slide there on the back of the screen. He's doing all he can. He stays at it. Now still closing in a little bit, goes out all the way off the racing surface, gets sideways, and I think that's going to do it here for Julian Tesoro coming into the penultimate corners here, Andre.
Yeah, Philip Scott just lost a little bit too much time with that slide coming out of the carousel. He's going to send it deep into the left-right complex, but it's not going to be enough through the final corner. It is going to be Julian Tesoro in that number 30, taking the checkered flag at Watkins Glen after a dominant race.
And how about that? The Tesoro Motorsports number 30 gets the job done. Burning it down in turn number 1 here. Let's go check out that Tyler Bellinger, Nate Maurer battle one final time as the 971 holds on to the spot. Dominic Tesoro finishing in 3rd. Tristan Thuggy Maher solidly in 4th. We did hear there was a little bit of a moment with the 59 of Blaine Sparling, but he's the last car on the lead lap. Will be finishing at least in 5th unless something happens to Maher. Here comes Maurer coming to the final corner, has a little bit of a gap. Unless he lights up the rear tires and spins it around, he will hold on to the 8th position. Bellinger, last week's race winner at Pocono, going to come across the line in 9th. Great battle between those two as they avoid a spinning number 17 of Tristan Maher. Blaine Sparling now coming to the line. You see damage on that number 59 as he got involved in a late race accident coming across the line in just a snail's pace. But for Julian Tesoro, the Team Tesoro Motorsports 175 winner. You can't script it any better. I mean, we said at the top of the show that Dominic Tesoro starting on the pole was perfect. And then how about Julian getting the job done when his brother couldn't finish it off, but Julian did.
Yeah, that was quite a race. I mean, we had 55 laps of organic racing, no caution flags, obviously, as it was a road course. And after 55 laps of racing, 2 pit stops for both of our leaders, only 1 second separated them. I mean, that is a testament to how close these guys were in pace and just how much they were willing to battle the entire night through. Very fun to watch. But again, Tesoro he played all the cards right. He knew when to push the car and when to relax. He knew when to save and when not to. And when it came to pit road strategy, seems like he just played it right every single time. And for his efforts, he walks away with a win. Yeah,
absolutely. Let's see if we can dial up those drivers. However, let's start off with tonight's 3rd place finisher, driver of the number 69 machine, Dominic Tesoro. We talked about him, or talked to him at the beginning of the night, but not quite able to get the win from pole, but nonetheless a podium. Dominic, you got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got a copy.
Well, you kind of felt like you had 3rd or 4th fastest truck out there here tonight, coming home in 3rd. It was a good night for you in that number 69 machine. Anything you think you could have done any better?
No, man. I mean, the goal was definitely to have Julian win because he's, in contention for the playoffs. So that's what that, whole initial turn 1 start was about. And we just played this strategy, man. Our teammate Blaine was the one doing all the calculations the whole race. He really hooked it up, man, with that strategy. But yeah, no, I second place would have been preferred, of course. But Philip, man, he was able to undercut us and maintain, a decent fuel mileage the whole time. So well deserved by him. He didn't have the second fastest truck, but he was able to put it there, and I think that's very, very impressive. But yeah, we're super happy over here. All of us, I think, all of us did well.
Well, definitely a good night out of the Tesoro Motorsports team as well. I mean, coming home 1st, 3rd, and 5th. How cool is that to do that in the race that GL sponsored here tonight?
Very cool, man. I mean, like I said, when we first started this thing, I really expected us to be be quick. I knew it was going to be kind of difficult to hold off Tristan, and I think when he got that little bit of damage early on, that really sparked a lot of us to keep pushing forward and make it happen. So yeah, it means quite a bit, man. It's very fun for sure.
Well, definitely a cool way for y'all to have 2 podium finishers here tonight, and all 3 inside the top 5. Let's go back and talk about what we have coming up here on the schedule over the next couple of weeks. Of course, the Simbox 200 next week at Bristol Motor Speedway. What are your thoughts of going to the Bull Ring next week?
Never been there, but like I said before, man, never been to a lot of these oval tracks, so we just learn as we go, try to get as much practice in as possible, in between work and whatnot. But yeah, we're excited. I'm hoping for another podium, at least for one of us, preferably Julian. We're really trying to take home the championship this year, but we'll see. Whatever happens, happens.
All right. Well, anyone else you want to give a shout out to before we let you go, Dominic?
Tesoro Motorsports for sure. Blaine Sparling, like I said, man, the guy's a genius with strategy. He's also the painter for the team. So shout out Blaine Sparling, Red Sims Designs. Shout out Ryan Dingler from RD Designs. He hooks it up quite a bit. Of course, yourself, the whole 3-wide team for broadcasting. NSRA, Justin White for coming out every single week and making it a pretty clean, race, pretty clean league in general. So, and then all the drivers for showing up. It was definitely a blast.
Absolutely. Well, Dominic, congratulations on your podium finish, and we'll see you again next week at Bristol.
All right, brother.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our third-place finisher here tonight. Let's see if we can dial up tonight's runner-up driver of the number 99 machine. Andre Graham-Bush has caught up with Philip Scott.
Philip Scott, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, Philip, that was a really impressive run, bringing it home P2. Mixture of raw speed and a little bit of smart strategy got you undercutting the number 69 machine, and you were able to stay out front. And then at the end of the race, you were really sending it hard, trying to catch up to the leader. I got to ask you about the end of the race there. You were able to close the gap in the closing laps. It just wasn't quite enough. What was the truck feeling like, and what was going through your mind?
Yeah, so this was the same thing as yesterday. Yesterday, it was me versus Julian in the Xfinity cars, and I had just got the upper hand, but only just, and those suit me better. I'm not as good in the trucks as I am in Xfinity cars, and so like everything just didn't feel right today. Like I was trying to save tires, but I was just losing ground, and so then I was like trying undercuts and stuff, and that did get me past Dominic, and then Tristan had an issue, and then I got by him, and then I noticed I was slowly creeping up second to last stint, and then so I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna undercut again, and I'm just gonna push the whole way because I felt like I could. I felt like if I just pushed at the beginning, if I just like stayed right behind Julian, I might have a shot. And he came out of the pits and we were side by side. It was so great battling with both the Tesoros and Tristan, of course. So glad to have a good run after last week. I wish that I could have got swept the weekend at the Glen, but I'll take P2. That was fun.
And I got to say, your long run speed definitely deserves a mention here. I think you're kind of selling yourself short because even Dominic was in here and he was mentioning that even with the undercut, you were maintaining such good fuel mileage and such good tire wear. And Peter and I were talking about it too. It seemed like your tires were just really well taken care of and your pace didn't drop off quite as much as some of the other guys on the long run. What was the secret out there? What were you doing to keep that car in good shape?
I think it's something that I've especially focused on for the past couple months because it's definitely different. This type of road racing in stock cars and trucks is significantly more difficult than to keep your tires under you than say I do GT3s and GT4s, and you can just push on those and just constantly throw out best laps. But the issue with tires are just so difficult to manage in these, and so I've just had to really practice and learn how just be every little detail, trying to manage the throttle, trying not shifting down extra gears when I need to. For example, last corner I was staying in third, carousel I was staying in third, things like that. Bus stop third. It's just things like that. Just every little bit counts.
All right. Well, and it did work out pretty well for you there. Again, bringing it home, P2 on the podium. Before we let you go, Philip, is there any shout outs you'd like to make?
Yeah, I'll make it quick. WorldNinjaLeague.org. I made the website, so go check it out.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Philip, and good luck next week.
Yes, sir.
Second place finisher out of the booth, and now I believe it is time for Peter Short to run down to victory lane and have a word with our race winner, Julian Tesoro.
Yeah, another one of these Tesoro Motorsports boys. Julian getting the W here tonight, getting the win. We heard from Dominic, of course, you being one of the chase drivers here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. It was important for you to have a good run here tonight, and sure enough, you did, getting the win. What was the secret here tonight? Pretty much leading all of the laps right there. Took the lead from your brother on the start and didn't really ever look back. It was a good run for you.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I put in a lot of laps coming into this race. I mean, I give myself no option but to win. I just try to stay focused, be patient, try not to overdrive. Honestly, that was probably the best race I've ever done. I mean, it was flawless, not one mistake. It got a little difficult towards the end. I seen Philip was starting to close in, but I wasn't paying attention to the relative. I was just trying to go, man.
Well, it was flawless from you. I can't put any fault on the number 30. The only thing I can't, or at least the only thing I can fault you with, is the fact that you did not start on the pole, but it was a pole and a win for Tesoro Motorsports here tonight. I asked Dominic this a little while ago, but how cool is it to get the win in the race that you all sponsored?
Oh man, yeah, it was definitely the one to win, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean it's awesome, dude. That was all Dominic, so I thank him, bro. He helped me out a lot, you know.
Well, it really was a good run for both of you here tonight. But next week we go to Bristol Motor Speedway, short track action again here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. What are your thoughts going to Bristol next week?
None really at the moment. I've never raced there, so I'll probably put in some laps. I'm pretty good about locking in and practicing, getting hours, laps. So I'll probably do that this week. But just focus on the strategy. That's one thing that I lack is a strategy, and so I'm slowly working on that. I have Blaine, one of the teammates that was also competing in this race. He's been a big help with that. So I'm grateful for him, honestly.
Well, it was a really good run for you and all your teammates here tonight, and hopefully you can back that up next week with good strategy at Bristol. Before I let you go, Julian, any shout-outs you'd like to give out?
Yeah, shout out Dominic. Obviously, shout out Blaine. Shout out Red Sim Racing, Red Sim Designs, that whole team. They supply all the liveries for me. Shout out Garage Welt for putting on the truck. Shout out you guys up in the booth, man. I mean, Peter, you guys do an excellent job. Shout out Justin. He's taking good care of the league. He's now in the know. I guess the owner, so he's doing a good job of keeping everybody intact and doing good with the league, man. So I shout out to him.
Oh, definitely a lot going on and a lot to thank for how far we've got this far in the season. But Julian, congrats on getting the win here tonight, and we'll see you next week at Bristol.
Yeah. See you guys. You guys have a good night, man.
All right, well, that's going to do it with our post-race interviews here tonight at the Watkins Glen International Raceway in upstate Watkins Glen, New York. And Julian Tesoro there, very, very happy to get the win. But let's see if we can bring up tonight's final race results for everyone back at home. There they are. Julian Tesoro taking the win in the Tesoro Motorsports 175. Philip Scott coming home in second. Dominic Tesoro wrapping it up in the podium in third position. Tristan Maher in fourth. found his way 31 seconds behind Dominic Tesoro. Not sure if something else happened late to the Eclipse Photography number 17. You can only imagine that something did happen that we might have missed on camera. Blaine Sparling finishing in 5th, the last car on the lead lap. But Jeff Price finishing 6th, Adam Newton in 7th, Nate Maurer in 9th, Tyler Bellinger in 9th, and rounding out our top 10 here tonight, a very quiet night from Vincent Valavano, who kept it between the lines and able to come home with the top 10 there, Andre.
Justin White just outside of the top 10. I believe he started 11th and he's going to finish 11th. Tom Lester behind him, P12. John Flamion is going to be 13th. Doug Neal in the 77 bringing it home 14th after a incident-marred race, unfortunately. Behind him, you've got Jeffrey Mathis, Mike Tellier, and Martin Plute, who did not start the race. So they're going to be scored 55 laps down. And that is your final results for Watkins Glen.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a surprise that we had a couple drivers that did not start here tonight, but nonetheless, it's going to be a lot of fun at Bristol Motor Speedway next week. I love going to Bristol. I love coming to Watkins Glen for the road course action, but I love going to Bristol because it also puts on a great show. What are your thoughts about going to Bristol next week, Andre?
Well, it's going to be interesting. The last time we went to a short track, things got a little bit chaotic very quickly, and they stayed chaotic until the drop of the checkered flag. So I would expect nothing less next week. Bristol's always a fun time, especially in the trucks, and I think it'll be a pretty good spectacle for the fans at home.
You know, a lot on the line as well as we move on to race number 3 of the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series Chase as well. We'll see how everything all pans out after tonight. Of course, Julian Tesoro, I think he came into tonight 4th place in points, and so this win will help propel him up into at least the top 3. So we'll have to see how that all shakes out by the time we get to Bristol Motor Speedway. Short track action in the chase, a lot on the line. It's going to be a lot of fun right here, 3 Wide TV, same time, same place, 8:55 Eastern Time next Friday night. We got to give a shout out to our series sponsors and race sponsors here tonight. Of course, Tesoro Motorsports for sponsoring tonight's race. Stay Tuned Sports and their podcast. You can go check that out in the description of the video. There's a link to their Podbean, maxgrafix.co. Brookstone Animal Hospital didn't give out any lucky dogs here tonight, but they'll probably be giving out a couple next week at Bristol Motor Speedway. No cautions here tonight, but we'll probably see at least one next week at Bristol. Taz Racing Customs, custom diecasts. You can go check them out, facebook.com/Taz Racing Customs. If a custom diecast interests you, you can go get maybe one of your iRacing cars put on a diecast model. BeerStreetJournal.com. If you're a craft beer drinker like me, that is the place to check out the best craft beer news across the United States. Simbox. Button boxes. If you need a button box for your sim rig, you can go check them out, facebook.com/simboxpc. And of course, JNR Craftworks. We posted a link in their description so you could check out some of their holiday stuff that they have going on. You can check out all of their custom items that are very, very cool. Make sure to check them out as well. But I think that's going to do it for us here tonight on 3Y TV. Stay safe and all that good stuff, and we shall see ya!